The entire fourth series of Red Dwarf is now available with additional bonus material of deleted scenes, outtakes and interviews. And Craig Charles presents his own show on...
No question that sometimes bad things happen. And there's no question that Abu Ghraib and the mistreatment of Iraqis was totally unacceptable and is being handled by the American judicial system. And people, in fact, are going to go to jail for many, many years. And that was a terrible thing. On the other hand, it's also no question that if you look at Afghanistan, where we have been very successful, I think, in beginning to liberate the Afghan people after 30 years of violence and bloodshed, if you look at what we're trying to do, you know, it's not the Americans who massacred 12 Nepalese. Innocent people trying to help the Iraqis, massacred by barbarians. I think it's fair to say that it's not the Americans who have blown up the oil pipelines, trying to destroy the economy for the purpose of reinstating a dictatorship.
Looking at the second term then, what voices do you think President Bush should listen to? What should change? What should be his priorities?
Well, I think our biggest problems are institutional, not personality. We don't today have an effective communications mechanism. We don't have a way of reaching out to the people of Europe or to the people of the Middle East. We can't compete with Al Jazeera, and I think we need to become much more conscious of the need to genuinely communicate on a two-way basis.
But it's not what you say, it's what you do that alarms people in the Middle East, isn't it?
No, I think a lot of it is also what you say. I think, let me give you one example. People talk about us not being part of a multilateral effort. That's just plain not true. Other than France, Germany, and Belgium, there's been an overwhelming support for us in Europe. There's been support for us in Japan and Korea. There's been support for us in the region. The only two major countries that opposed us in the region were Syria and Iran, and frankly, we're on the opposite side.
But the biggest cheer last night for Arnold Schwarzenegger was when he said nasty things about the United Nations. The impression is this is not, in its heart, a multilateral party that wants to engage with the world.
No, this is a multilateral party, but it's not a party that particularly wants to be lectured by Jacques Chirac. It's not a party that wants to be lectured by Kofi Annan. Let me give you one example. Kofi Annan pointed out correctly that in Darfur, the part of Sudan, maybe 1 million people may die. Sudan was just elected to the Human Rights Commission. Now, how can you expect any American to take seriously an institution which last year had Libya chair the Human Rights Commission?
Mr. Gingrich, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry about his backing group there, but anyway, tomorrow is George Bush's big night here at Madison Square Gardens. We'll be figuring out what he's likely to say. I hope you'll join us, but now back to Kirsty.
Thanks, and all tomorrow's papers are leading in the Russian siege. And we can speak now to the Independence correspondent who's just arrived in the town, Andrew Osborne. Andrew, what's happening now?
Well, the hostage standoff is still carrying on, and in the last 5 or 10 minutes, shots have rang out from the school where up to 400 people are being held hostage, including probably 200 children. And apparently that was sniper fire from people inside the school who are shooting at anyone who approaches. And then nearby, about 500 of these children's relatives have gathered in a cultural centre and are comforting each other and waiting for news. And some of them are hopeful, but most of them are frankly in despair.
Andrew, thank you very much for joining us. That's all from Newsnight tonight. Eddie Mayer will be back with more tomorrow. Until then, from all of us here, good night.
Battlefield Britain continues with Naseby, Friday at 9 on BBC Two.
There are always things they need you for, like making sure they're covered by a TV license when they go to university. It's a criminal offence if they watch their own TV without one. They could end up in court and be fined up to £1,000. Make sure they've got a TV license. Call 0800 328 2020.
Extra, available on DAB digital radio.
From the top, drives me up the wall.
It's just a football match.
Slightly older and still just as grumpy, the grumpy old men are back. Coming soon on BBC Two.
Robert Ryan's the tough city cop about to turn soppy in half an hour when BBC Two's On Dangerous Ground. Ahead of our late film, some morale-boosting comedy.